This is Christopher cathode. He's made of copper and he's a very inexpensive metal.
Hi, I'm Christopher Cathode, and I'm a pure copper metal. I just moved into this beautiful, expensive metal neighborhood. Me, I'm very hopeful for the future, and I have big aspirations.
Sadly, no one likes Chris because he's made of a cheap metal, and almost everyone he meets ends up bullying him.
Hey, you! Yeah, you!
Me?
You look like you just swim in mud. Get out of my neighborhood, you worthless metal.
I don't want to be treated like this anymore. I hate this neighborhood.
Hey fella.
Me?
You look a little out of place here. Why don't you head over to this clinic so you can become the luxurious metal you've always dreamt of becoming?
Man.
Hey, I heard this is where people come to get electroplated.
You're right. What happens is that we take a cheap and ugly metal, like you, and plate it with something much more valuable, like gold. We'll use an electrolytic cell by submerging you into a gold cyanide salt solution with positively charged gold ions. We use a gold anode to plate you. The gold in the anode loses electrons, thanks to this battery here, becomes part of the solution, then regains its electrons on the cathode and turns back into solid gold. In this case, you're the cathode. When the process is over, you'll have a nice and shiny gold surface.
That would be quite the experience. Let us indulge in electroplating right now.
Alright, just make sure to scrub yourself down with the steel wool brush, otherwise the plating might not work properly. Once you're all done, we can get started.
Oh man. Thanks so much, doctor. Nice
You're
having you.
welcome.
Christopher Cathode lived on being accepted into society. However, his gold plating was not permanent. It got contaminated frequently by his copper body, but Chris wanted to keep his luxurious looks. He blew all his money by plating himself with gold multiple times, rather than spending a little more for the extra nickel plating that would have created a barrier to stop the gold from tarnishing. He ended up rejected by everyone and severely depressed.
As the great metal battle ended, one copper soldier was heavily wounded with multiple impurities in his body in the form of bullets, blades, and dirt. He's rushed to a large medical tent by his fellow medical tin soldiers who call for the aluminum doctor. Inside the tent are beds with nearby electrolytic cell containers for any harmed soldiers to be refined and fixed. The doctor lays the copper soldier onto a work table and he removes his pure copper heart, which has kept him alive so far. Some parts of his body are still pure, but there's a lot of impurity deep within his body. The electrolytic cell container is filled with a copper sulfate solution, which contains the copper 2 ions needed for electrorefining. The doctor then connects the copper soldier's heart to the negative side of the DC power source, and on the positive side he connects his impure body. Once everything is set up, the doctor turns on the power source. When electrorefining copper, the calculated voltage needed is 0.0 volts, which makes it a non-spontaneous reaction. Around 0.3 volts, though, are needed for the reaction to function and to compensate for the resistance throughout the system. The solid copper from the anode oxidizes into copper 2+ ions, which become part of the solution. The copper 2+ ions in the solution are then attracted to the electrons at the cathode and are reduced to a solid copper by gaining 2 electrons. As the electrolytic cell continues to refine the copper soldier's body, The anode loses mass as the cathode increases in mass. As for the impurities that lie in the copper, the metals that are stronger reducing agents than copper, such as zinc and iron, lose their electrons and become ions floating in the electrolyte solution. These ions are weaker oxidizing agents than copper and remain as ions in the solution. As for the metals that are weaker reducing agents than copper, such as lead and silver, they do not oxidize and simply fall to the bottom of the electrolytic cell as a precipitate called anode mud. The copper soldier's electro-refining is finally complete and is now a full pure copper solid. He thanks the doctor, then leaves to go back home to his family.